Today we're going to talk about Chapter 4, Single Table Queries. Here's the objectives. You can read them from your book. We're going to move on. I'm going to try to keep this pretty short because I know the longer the video, the less likely a lot of people are to look at it. I'm going to try to breeze on through it. And if you have any questions after you watch it, reach out to me and I'll clear them up for you. So what's a query? Well, it's a question represented in a way that a database management system can understand. How do you implement it? You use a select command, and there's no special formatting rules, which means that you can put them on all on the same line or separate the statements. It's up to you. Select from and where statement. Select whatever columns you want from whatever table and get the records matching whatever condition you put. The where clause is optional, okay, because you may not want any conditions on it. So in this example, list the number, name, and balance of all customers. Since it said all customers, there's no need to have a where clause because it wants all of them. There's no condition that needs to be met. Notice that you have the field name separated by commas, and then on the separate line from customer, semicolon ends the statement. Notice there's no comma after the balance. Okay, make sure you don't put a comma there. If you do, your statement won't run correctly. You can use the asterisk to get all columns. So previously it listed 3 columns that you just wanted those individual 3, but if you use an asterisk, that's going to get them all. And it will list all the columns in order that was used when it was created. If you want to do in a different order, you use the select and just list each individual column. Select asterisk from item. This is giving you all columns in the table along with all rows. And when I say columns, that means fields, item number field, description field, so on. To use the where clause, you have to put a condition on it. This example is talking about, hey, I only want to show the customer number of 126. It just wants the name of it. So to do that, you say select customer name from customer where customer name equals 126. Excuse me. Know these single quotes. You have to put that on it because it's a character field. Realize that the 126 character representation in the computer is different than the 126 numeric. So you have to look and see what the data type is of the fields, and if they're character, you got to put the around single quotes around it if it's numeric. Where clause use comparison operators. You can look up here and see. Most of you probably recognize those pretty well. Just remember the difference between the less than and greater than. I'm amazed at how many students miss a lot on labs because they have them backwards. The less than or equal, greater than equal, or the not equal, make sure you don't put a space between those when you type them in MySQL because it won't run. And right there, this one is saying, hey, I want to select customer name, balance, and credit limit from customer where balance is greater than credit limit. So it only shows one record that has the balance greater than credit limit. Credit limit is 5,000. The balance is 5,025.75 cents. Now you can go back and do a select asterisk from customer and check and make sure that's the only one, because just because you run it and you get data doesn't mean it's correct. You need to check the data either by doing an SQL statement to look at it or look back in chapter 1 that shows all the data. You can use compound conditions. That's where you just have a simple condition separate with the and, ors, or not. An and operator, all of the conditions have to be true. On an or, only one has to be true. On a not, it reverses the truth of the original condition, which means if the condition was true, it reverses it to make it false, and vice versa. All right, here's showing you and on separate lines. Again, you could put them on the same line, but it says select description from item where storehouse equals 3 and on hand quantity greater than 25. Both of them have to be true. So if the storehouse is 3 and on hand quantity is 25, then the record will show up. Or if either one of them is true, it'll show up. So look how we got 13. Last one we had 3, now we got 13. Now, we don't know which one of these are showing up because the storehouse is 3, or which one of them showing up because the on hand is greater than 5, or which one of them showing up that's both of them's true. Unless we had ran this one right here first. The not says we're not storehouse equals 3. So if the storehouse equals 3 and it's true, it's going to make not, it's going to make it false. So the only thing that's going to show up is all the storehouses that's not 3. Using the between operator, using instead of and operator. Use when searching a range of values. You make the command simpler to construct. Here's the confusing part. It's inclusive. To me, the word between means between 2,000 and 5,000, which would be 2,001 and 4,999. But inclusive means it include the 2,000 and the 5,000. So be careful when you're doing that. And you can see how it looks when you type it in MySQL. This saves you from having to say where balance is greater than or equal to 2,000 and balance is less than or equal to 5,000. So this makes it run a little more efficient, a little quicker. Using compound columns. Sometimes there's columns that you want to display that's not inside the database. So for instance, you may have an hourly work and an hourly rate, and you want to display gross pay. So you can calculate it inside your query. You can use the plus, minus, multiplication and division. And that's showing you how you do it. You just put the algorithm right there. Notice the column heading. It's the same as the algorithm. But you can use the as clause to assign it a name. Makes it more user-friendly. Instead of showing the algorithm, it says as available credit. You can use the like operator. And the like operator allows you to use patterns. So you can use the percent. You can say percent before and after. So the longest Columbus is anywhere in the field, it will show up. The underscore, it only lets you substitute a single character. So for this instance, anything that has 3 characters, that's a T is the first character, anything else is the second character, and then an M will show up. And that's showing you how that works. We're street like Columbus. Doesn't matter what's before Columbus or what's after Columbus, it's going to show up. Using the and operator. It's an easier way than doing ORs. So instead of saying where credit limit is equal to 5,000 or credit limit is equal to 10,000 or credit limit equals to 15,000, you can use the and. And that'll make it show up as a little more user-friendly. Get the same results, but it makes the SQL query run faster, plus it's a little more user-friendly. Sorting. By default, there's no order which the results will be displayed. But you can use the order by clause to tell it whatever order you want it. You do it by a sort key, which is a datum you want to sort on. And by default, it's ascending order, which means lowest to highest or A to Z. You can also have a major sort and a minor sort, which means multiple fields to sort by. You can also tell it instead of ascending order, I want to be descending by using a DECS keyword. Here's an example of that. It says, hey, I want you to order by credit limit in descending order and then by customer name. So if you look here, starts at the highest to lowest by credit limit and then A to Z in customer. So look right here. Here's a bunch of 7,500s. So it sorts it there, but also alphabetical order. Well, this really comes in handy. It's like you have a last name field, a first name field, and a middle name field. You can do the sort to get them in alphabetical order. Using functions. MySQL allows you to use aggregate functions. And the ones you can use are average, count, max, min, and sum. Average is going to get the average of the column. Count is going to count the number of rows in that table or whatever column you put. Max is going to give you the maximum value in the column. Min's the minimum value, and sum's going to add them all up. This right here just gives you a count. Select count in parentheses, put asterisk from item where category is equal to GME. So it tells you there's 6 of them. It just displays the number and not the data, not the details. Okay. using the sum function. Everybody knows what the sum does. It says null values are ignored. A null value is a data that doesn't have anything entered in it. It's unknown. That's called a null value. So it tells you that it won't add them up because there's nothing to add up. Here's a good example using the sum, the average, the max, and the min from customer. You do the aggregate function in whatever field you want to do that to. And in this example, it's all in the balance field. But look at the column headings down here on your report or your output. This is a good time where you could say as, after sum, say as sum. After average, say as average. So it show up average here. Or you could say sum balance, average balance, max balance. Something to make it a little more user-friendly. Using the distinct operator, it eliminates duplicate values. You use this with the account function. So I got select customer number from orders. Notice there's multiple customer numbers that has 126 and 586. If you use a distinct keyword, it just shows them one time. Nesting queries. You do that by using a subquery. The inner query is placed inside of another query. The outer query uses the subquery results of the inner query. So for instance, since PZL, since category is not in the order line table, okay, it's in the item table, they have to separate all the item numbers from the item table that has that category. So what this inner query does, it builds a subquery for you temporarily, and then it goes up and does the outer query. It runs each row or each record against that inner query result. So if the field is not in the table that you're using, it's in another table, you have to do a subquery in chapter 4. In chapter 5, we'll show you a different way you do it. And again, right here, notice you're doing this from the same table, customer and customer. What it wants you to do here is get list all the customer numbers, customer name, and balance of each customer that their balance is greater than the average balance of all customers. So you have to do this inner query to get the average balance of all the customers, and then go back and run against each individual record in the customer table. So if you went back and looked at the data, these 5 records, their balance would be higher than the average balance of all the records combined. Grouping creates a group of rows that share common characteristics. Calculations in the select command are performed on the entire group. You group data on a particular column. You can also calculate statistics. So look at this example. What this does is says, hey, I want you to group all the customers by rep number and then order them by rep number, and also get the average after they're grouped. So it groups all the 15s together, all the 30s together, and all the 45s together. Then it displays out the average. The order by tells to put it in ascending order, lowest to highest. If you by rep number. If you didn't do that, it may come out rep number 30 first and then 15 and 45. But it wanted it to be in ascending order. The halving clause. The halving clause works similar to the where clause, except it works on groups, where the where clause works on individual records. So this is grouping by rep number. Then it's having average balance greater than 1,500 of those, and then order by. So you can't have a halving without a group by. Notice this doesn't have a where, because it didn't need you to do anything on each individual record. And here's the more, goes in a little more detail. Where clause limit rows, having the limits groups, can use together if it involves both rows and groups. And that's what it does here. So what this query is going to do, it's going to group all the rep number 15 together. I mean, it's only going to group the 15s together. All right. Then it's going to get rid of the 30s and the 45s. It's going to group by the credit limit. Right? And then it's going to do a halving based on that. So for instance, there's only one person in credit limit 500 for rep number 15. 5,000, not 500. And there's also only one person that has a credit limit of 10,000 for rep number 15. Now that doesn't mean there's not multiple people that has, two 2 people that has a rep or 3 people that has a rep 115 for these credit limits, because it says only include if they're negative, less than 2, which is 1. Okay. Nulls, you have keywords. If you only want to see the null values or is not null. So you come in and say, hey, I want you to show me all the records that doesn't have a street in there. I need to go update my table because I need to put the address. So you say where street is null. And then you could do another column or in that same column and say is not null, which means, hey, show me all the streets that has a value in it. All right, so that's the is. I know I breezed through it pretty quick. So when you get to the end of, you have any questions after you read the chapter, you go back and look in the book to see if you can find the answers when you go to your lab. If you can't find the answers, okay, you go to Google, try to find it at Google. If you can't find the answers at Google, you go to your email and email me, or go into Blackboard and look at my cell phone and call me. Okay? I'm the last resort. You ask other people. You look at other places, the book, then Google, before you call me. My goal is to get you in the habit of looking stuff up, because you're not going to be able to stay in computers if you can't do research, because things changes so regular. You need to be able to figure it out. Don't spend all that amount of time. Try your best, and then when you get ready to throw the computer against the wall, contact me and I'll help you. My job is to help you succeed. Here's the lab sheet. This is what you do on them. You're going to go, and it says list all the item numbers, description, and prices for all items. So that's in the items table. And it wants you to just do the item number, description, and the price. So you'd go into MySQL, and then you would say select item num, comma, description, comma, price from all items. And then when that displays results, you do a insert screenshot and go to screen clipping. Okay, and then you drag the box around what you want to include. And I showed you an example of this on the video I sent earlier this morning. So check that video out and how to do it if you have any questions. So when you get done, submit this in Blackboard. I'll grade it. If you've missed a bunch of stuff, start giving you a bad grade, I'll tell you, hey, you need to double check it, and you've missed quite a few, and give you a chance to get a better grade. I don't care if you make a 60 or 60 or 100. I want to make sure you understand it. So if you miss 4 or 5, I'll probably give you the 75 or 80. But if you're missing 7 or 8, I'm going to give you the opportunity to redo it. So I hope this video helps on this chapter. I'll be doing it for the rest of the chapters, a brief video. If you have any questions, again, contact me. And thanks a lot.